Once a giant, always a giant.
And welcome back to All Things Giants. Today we're gonna be talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Daniel Jones. As you see, we're gonna be talking about Daniel Jones because he left a lot of question marks, man. Going into year three, this will be. He left a lot of question marks, and there's a lot of things to get over, the good and the bad with Daniel Jones, and if he's the guy. So let's get right into it. We're gonna start out with the pros. We're gonna start out with the pros because I feel like Daniel Jones, he's he gets bashed a lot because he was picked at the sixth pick, and that nobody expected it really, but nobody really liked the pick. A lot of people called him a day two guy. A lot of people were like, we should have got him at the 17th. Both I believe in and I agree with, but it is what it is. You just gotta live. It's nothing you could do about it. So we're gonna talk about what I think about him and how I think what he needs to do to improve, and what he's shown me he can do very well. What he's shown me he can do very well is his ability to run. Daniel Jones, year one, didn't really run outside of the Tampa game. The Tampa game, he had a read option, and then he had the end of the game winner touchdown when he ran it in. But besides that, he really didn't run the ball in or run that much. So going into this year, no team looked at it as a threat or something that they need to be aware of. So I think what Daniel Jones has shown me is that his straight line speed is very fast. He clocked in at like 21 point something miles per hour, and it was like neck and neck with Tyreek Hill top speed in the regular season. And so everybody understood like this is a fast guy who has great straight line speed. And the way that Jason Garrett incorporated the read option with him this year boosted his game in an area that nobody really knew he had. I mean, people knew coming in that he had legs. He wasn't just a strictly pocket passer guy. Like he wasn't no Mac Jones in the pocket, but he can move around. But he didn't really show that in year one, like he did in year two. So I think that's when it was like multiple games in the season where Daniel Jones was our leading rusher, and that's both good and bad for our team. You know, I know Saquon went down and things, but it is what it is. But also, the next good thing he showed us, besides the running and his ability to use read option and things like that, is the fact that he is a good deep ball passer. Like you cannot take it away from him. He makes very good passes downfield. He makes accurate ones. He had ones from to Golden Tate. He had ones to Darius Slayton against the Eagles down the sidelines, which was a great pass. And he's had some that just hit people in their hands. It was a one. I know everybody hates him for it, but the one Evan Ingram dropped in the Eagles game that would have won us that game and most likely sent us into the playoffs. But besides that, he's shown us that he is a very good deep ball passer. And that's what you need in a quarterback, and that's what you need in a guy who you're looking to be your future. He does have, and I think how accurate he was downfield boosted his confidence when it came to his arm strength. When it came to his arm strength, it wasn't nothing special. Like it wasn't nothing you were like, oh yeah, he can chuck it like Mahomes and Josh Allen do. But it can get the ball. It can get the ball there when it needs to. Like against the Steelers, he had the great pass. It was like 40, 45 yards to Slayton. It was a nice post route by Slayton. Hit him in the end zone, touchdown, great pass. He has shown that he can get the ball there. And that is one thing that is key to his game, is that with a lot of quarterbacks, surrounding them is a question mark downfield if they can get the ball there. That's not what we have when it comes to Daniel Jones. We don't have to worry about that. What we do, what I also like, I'm not gonna get to the negatives yet. What I also like is the fact that he can make accurate passes in the middle of the field. Like he'll step up in the pocket and he'll hit you in the middle of the field, and it'll be a nice little 10-yard gain, and that's what I like, or 10, 15-yard gain, and that's what I like about him because those are passes that can win or lose ball games. Is if quarterbacks know to step up in the pocket and deliver a pass. But what Daniel Jones also has to work on that is because he tries to force it sometimes, and this is not me going as a positive, it's just I mean the negatives, but he tries to force it sometimes. And a big thing that I'm like when people say, is Daniel Jones the guy? No, Daniel Jones is not the Lamar. He's not the Patrick Mahomes. He's not one of those guys. He doesn't have the extra it factor that those dominant top quarterbacks, Watson, Kyler, those type of guys. You know those type of guys. They're dominant with their legs. They can also pass the ball, things like that. They have that it factor. He's not that guy. Giants fans have to accept, and people around the league have to accept that Daniel Jones just isn't that guy. What he is, he's a mediocre guy who's just enough to get a team over the heads. For example, Jimmy Garoppolo, just enough, nothing special. He didn't have no it factor. He wasn't dominant in any particular way in his game. There was nothing you could point out and be like, oh yeah, he's top of the league in this. He's top 5 in this. He wasn't that guy. But that defense was good. That defense was as good as it was that got them there, and he could make the throws that were needed when they needed to win the game. That's all I'm asking Daniel Jones to do is be that guy that can help our defense out to be that mediocre-ish quarterback that can get us over that hump. That's all I need from him. He needs it was the one to Dante Pettis in the Week 17 game against Dallas. That entire game I was preaching that he needed to put more zip on his ball. And he came down there and he threw a zip to Dante Pettis in the end zone for a touchdown. And Dante Pettis caught it. And a lot of people were raving about Dante Pettis. Could he be the extra slot guy? That's not the point. But Daniel Jones, that's what he needs to do. He needs to put more zip on his passes, and he did it right there. That's what I like to see. Progression. He's shown me a few progression spots that he didn't show in year 1 that he's shown in year 2. Now, we're gonna jump sides to the negatives. You never like talking about the negatives when it comes to somebody on your team, but we got to talk about the bad things of Daniel Jones, and sad to say, there is a long list of things that he does. Daniel Jones is very bad at decision making, and when we say that, it's because nobody likes to talk about it, but Daniel Jones is piss poor when it comes to decision making. For example, the pick to, I think it was Fred Warner in the San Francisco game early on in the season. He stared down his receiver, and his receiver was never open. He just predicted that he was going to be open, forced it there, didn't get it to him. That's the bad decision that I'm talking about. And then on top of that, he forces plays. For example, I've got 2 in mind. It was against Pittsburgh we won when we were on the goal line, and he had the rollout. A guy was in his face, and the simple play was throw it out of bounds, take the sack, live to see another down. He does not understand that there will always be another down in these type of scenarios. He's got to understand that they will come. Instead of forcing the play, and most of the time that he did force the play, an interception or a turnover will come out of it. And that's not what we need when it comes to our quarterback. That's a precious position, and he has to understand that. Another one that came to mind was against the football team. Chase Young was in his face, and he straight throws it now. Personally, I don't believe it was an interception by Kendall Fuller, but the refs called it that, so it goes down as that in the stat sheet. He threw an interception when it didn't need to be that. Live to see another down. Yes, we won that game, but throw the ball away. He may have tried to throw it out the back of the end zone, but you don't even need to do that. Throw it out of bounds. Throw it past the line of scrimmage. Live to see another down. He did not do that. When he was a rookie and made those type of mistakes, I chinned it and I was like, okay, you didn't do it this year. You're a rookie. I don't expect you to just come in the league and dominate and just have no mistakes. You're not nobody does that. Everybody has mistakes. Justin Herbert had mistakes. Joe Burrow had mistakes before he got injured. But he came in year 2 and he still didn't fix that problem. It happened in week 1 and it happened throughout the season. You cannot have that as a quarterback. You just can't. It's simple as that. When you are a quarterback, one thing Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady both when watching their game, you can see that. Oh yeah, you can tell even if you're just a random football fan, you watch those two guys and you understand their pocket awareness is there. Like they have a ticking time bomb in their head. 1, 2, 3, gotta get out of here, cause they understand. O lineman won't be perfect every single play, but you've got to also understand that if you're Daniel Jones, the lack of not the lack, but the inconsistency that your offense had this year, as like I'm gonna focus on the O line right now. It was one game against Arizona. Hassan Reddick tore up Andrew Thomas, and he just was not accepting that. Like you could not tell that he was. I mean, granted, yes, he was hurt. I didn't think he should have played that game. He played through it, and if you're playing through a game, you're 100% in my opinion, and you've got to produce. Either you're out there helping the team, or you're not out there at all. He shouldn't have been out there, but he was. He just I get he was like he didn't want to move because he was hurt, but then he should have just been taken out the game. But it was the beginning of the game. Marcus Golden straight came to him, and he just did not see him at all and got blown up and fumbled the ball, and that was an early turnover, and it was on our defense to hold. At the time, the Arizona Cardinals had the number 1 ranked offense, and we asked our defense to hold them, and that's just unfair. Yes, Daniel Jones didn't have a true wide receiver 1 in year 2. He didn't have Evan Ingram. We all know the story of Evan Ingram. Accounted for 6 turnovers, 5 drops, 1 interception, the one with Colt McCoy, and then the loss of Saquon in week 2 against the Bears. Yes, we understand everything was going against you, but injuries happen. Things happen in football. You've got to be able to get over that hump and produce, and that's just not what he was doing. A big thing if you've ever watched a Giants game with me or in these last 2 years with Daniel Jones, is one thing that I hope for and that I love watching to see if he's able to do it is the 2-minute drill. It was at the point where there were some games where I would kind of hope for us to go down. I would say like 3 points. I would hope for us to go down because I want to see if Daniel Jones will be able to produce a 2-minute drill. Like you look at Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, these guys produced game-winning drives. Like Eli produced game-winning drives. They had 37 of them. Daniel Jones just hasn't shown me that he can produce in the 2-minute drill, and that's the thing I'm very big on, is producing in the 2-minute drill. I have to be able to trust when you get the ball in the 2-minute drill that you can produce at least a field goal, if not a field goal, a touchdown. You got to show me that you can do that. And then the lack of pocket awareness that he had just has been glaring from year 1 to year 2. There was no progression made. There's times where he just sits in the pocket and doesn't move, and it's just like, do you not see the guys coming at you? Do you think like your O-line is that perfect to the point where you have all pro O-linemen across the board, and that's just not the reality you're in? You've got to get the ball out of your hands. It was Peyton Manning who was very quick at getting the ball out of his hands. Daniel Jones has to believe in the check down. I know you didn't have Saquon, and I know when Saquon comes back, you'll take the check down more times than not, versus where you had Gallman and Deion Lewis, but you still got to take the check down, and he wasn't doing that. He was forcing balls and forcing plays, and that's not what you can have. Another problem Daniel Jones had was his accuracy outside the numbers. Now, this doesn't count for his deep ball passing, but on shorter passes, I would say like 15 yards and closer. But his passes outside the numbers just wasn't good. It wasn't good, and he has to work on it. It was one time to Sterling. He had the out route, and he threw it short. And like, you've got to either I'm okay if you throw it over his head, or if you throw it to the outside and he doesn't get a toe in or something like that. But if you just blatantly throw the ball too short, that's not okay. You can't accept that. Things like that are why people don't last in the league, when you can't make simple throws like that. You can't have that. And Daniel Jones proved that, like, it was at times where he made those throws, and then there was times where it just was like, how do you have a job? Like, how are you a quarterback in the NFL? And one thing that I like when watching Josh Allen's game, and I see him do this, and I'm just like, man, I can only pray and have wishful thinking that Daniel Jones can do this, and that is Daniel Jones has better straight line speed. Everybody knows this. Probably has one of the best straight line speed quarterbacks there are in the league, but his side to side and ability to extend plays wasn't good. There was maybe I can count on both my hands the amount of times that he did it this year. And you can't have that. Like, if a play breaks down in the backfield, corners won't be able to last against any receiver, no matter who they are, for 10, 12 seconds if the quarterback extends the play. That's what separates the mediocre quarterbacks to the greats, like Mahomes, Watson, even Brady, Rodgers, guys who are pocket passers but can get out. Like even Drew Brees did it. You've got to be able to extend the plays. That's what makes you great is being able to extend the plays because that gives your receivers time, especially when you got a connection like that. That gives your receivers time to my quarterback needs help. Let me break back to him. Things like that. Daniel Jones didn't do that, and like I can't expect it because I know like he's a straight line speed guy, but you look at Josh Allen and he has somewhat of a good straight line speed, but he's able to extend plays, make guys miss. And Tony Romo was famous for this, but he has the jump or the thing where if a guy's blitzing off his blind side and he's peeking in his peripherals, he'll have it in his head, 1, 2, spin, and it'll catch the guy, and the guy will go flying to the ground while he's extending the play, and it gives his receivers time. Things like that I've got to see. Now we're going to talk about Daniel Jones year 3. Daniel Jones year 3, what am I looking for? I'm looking for Daniel Jones to just be more accurate when it comes to things like that, like the outside passes, better decision making. And the two things that I really need to see is his ability to extend the plays. Like I've got to see that. You've got to be able to do it. And pocket awareness. We can't tackles aren't going to be perfect each and every play. They will break down sometimes, and you've got to understand that. So you've got to be able to step up in the pocket or extend the play. Like those two go together so well. If a tackle he's either gonna have to beat him inside or outside, and you gotta recognize that, Jones. Like you've gotta recognize, okay, he beat Thomas outside, so I'm gonna go inside and under, and I'm gonna get to the sideline, and I'm gonna deliver a ball. And vice versa, he's got to show me that in year 3. If he's not, I'm hopeful that next year's QB draft class can produce some type of good level play of quarterback, and I think it'll be time to replace Jones. Jones can sit as the backup because I don't think we'll release him or do nothing like that. But I think we draft a guy and Gettleman drafted Jones. So that'll be the end of that duo, Gettleman and Jones. We'll have a new GM, new quarterback, a new duo, and hopefully Jason Garrett will be gone with that duo and make it a trio, and we'll just restart from there. And this has been Daniel Jones' I'm going to say year 2 review, but we're going to say year 2 review, year 3 prediction. Hopefully Jones is the guy. I'm praying he can develop an it factor with his legs, and I just need to see more of those 300, he ain't had no 400, but 300, 350, 4, 5, 3 touchdown games that I just did not see this year. This has been All Things Giants. Peace.